guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. It's been a really busy week.
Yeah, it's been lots of crews.
Yeah, we've had lots of crews in and out, which is fun. There's lots of activity. The house painting is done, so that crew is gone.
Looks so good.
So much better. It was just, they get to a point, especially white houses. This is our first white house ever. The last one we had was kind of like a gray, I want to say. I can't even remember, like a light beige gray.
Wasn't it like kind of like more brown? Not brown, but like a
beige, a beige gray. I don't know. It was just very neutral, but you didn't see things on it like you do on a white house. And ours was to a point that no amount of magic eraser or power washer would take off the grime. It just needed a new coat of paint. And they did a great job. And they even pulled fascia boards off and put new ones up. They fixed the finials on top of the balcony that were rotting apart. And it feels clean. Yeah. It's so nice. And then we've had a crew here working on the kids' play area. I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be a really fun space. I can't wait to tour you through it. I know we've shared a little bit, but they have been getting rained out. That's the other thing. It's been such a rainy week.
Yeah.
Minus the day that we cleaned out the pond. That was the other crew that was here this week. It was a beautiful 75-degree day. And so I think that's why it made it so pleasant.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of job you want to do on the first, the warmest day that you've had.
Getting in the water and all that was just so nice. Before we jump into the questions from this past week, we are doing 10% off Nature's Willow products on our website, gardenanswer.com, with the code SPRINGWILLOW. Nature's Willow makes products, I've talked about them before. They're natural ingredients for pain relief and or itch relief. My favorite is the pain relieving cream, and I thought I had a bottle in here, but I took it inside to use it. I go through quite a lot of that. I really do like that one a lot. So anyway, Spring Willow is the code, right? 10% off, gardenanswer.com.
I know we said we weren't going to do codes, but codes are inevitable.
You think so?
I don't know. Maybe. It's I think it's once you start, you can't stop, because then codes are out there. And
can't you set it up to where only certain, you can only use a certain amount of codes so that you can't build up a bunch of codes? Because that's the problem, right?
Yeah. It would we just need to do you can only use one code.
Yeah, and you can't use it on already on sale items.
Right.
So if the item is on sale, you just reflect that on sale price on the screen. So
I don't know.
There's no rigmarole.
It seems so simple, you and I talking about it, but then when it comes to actually doing it, it's you find out, but there's this and there's this. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're new to the whole website thing.
Yeah.
We're doing well, though.
Yeah, it's going really well, and Ken is doing a fantastic job. And we've been able to hire some really good support staff around him. So it's a real positive, exciting thing.
Yeah.
And the rain has been so nice. I mean, you guys, Aaron fertilized the yard, the grass yesterday morning, right before a huge downpour. I was unpacking perennials during that downpour.
I was in here when it started to rain, and it was, this is a metal roof. It was so loud.
I bet it was.
And I looked out.
It was kind of hail-ish.
Yeah.
It was on that side.
Right. I looked out the window and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Because I'd just gotten done fertilizing.
Yeah. But it's been super rainy. It's super wet outside, which is awesome. I haven't had to water my raised beds. All of it's just even containers. Everything is just doing its thing out there without any help. All the new plants that don't have drip yet, all watered in. I love it.
Hopefully that can go on for another couple months.
Yeah. Well, looks like we have a rainy day today. I'm hoping to get out and cut daffodils today. We'll see. I don't know. I might get rained out. It's supposed to be rainy again tomorrow. So my sister and mom and I are going to go do some shopping tomorrow, and we'll film it for you. First video from this past week was bottling our rosemary tincture, planting roses, and planting the last round of seeds for 2024, which I think are all up. The marigolds are this big already. Just in a few days. It's the one on the bottom. See those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're huge already. I love it. And I reseeded a couple flats too. I reseeded the Fama White pincushion flower, and a bunch of those have already popped, so I'm really thankful for that. Brenda said, how long do you let the rosemary steep in the vinegar? Anywhere from about 6 to 8 weeks. And I want to say mine was just over 8 weeks before we strained it. Lori said, wow, you have so many different things planted. Love your varieties. Did you ever grow nasturtiums from seed? I'm having a hard time getting them to germinate. Even tried soaking the seeds. Any tips? The best luck I've had with nasturtiums is soaking the seeds. So you're on the right track, but then also using a nail file and scarifying, or I think that's what call it, you nick the seed a little bit just to open up that outer seed coating. And that also helps the seed to germinate. So if you have skipped that step, maybe give that a try. And usually I'll do that and direct seed them right in the ground, and they come up just fine. Exanilda said, oh my goodness, who edited this video? That was so funny with the rosemary clip in memory. That was Taylor. So Taylor is our fairly new, like, full-time editor. He had been helping us out very part-time because he had a full-time job. And so he was doing like one video a week there for, I don't know,
a while,
several months. And then has just recently come on full-time. So is doing most of the videos now, minus maybe an occasional one that you will do.
Whenever you want to post on the weekend.
Yeah. Which is, once this video goes out, you will know that we did not have a video this Saturday.
Yeah.
Because we got a little bit behind. Why did we get behind? It's not behind. It's just our normal schedule. But we've been posting Saturday videos for like the last 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Did I take a day off? I think I took a day off.
Maybe. Some weeks we just seem to have an abundance of videos.
Yeah.
And then some weeks it's just like harder to get stuff done.
If we can hit the Monday through Friday, I'm great. If we have an extra, that's awesome. And then always the recap on Sundays. But anyway, he does a fun job with videos and thinks to put in some really funny things. As always, I'm reading in the same question. I learned so much. I had no idea some seeds need light exposure like that in order to germinate. Some plants do need that. Do these type require to be under a grow light, or are you doing that because of temperature fluctuations? They require to be under some sort of light. So sometimes I seed things and leave them out in the greenhouse, and that's plenty of light to bring them up. Sometimes I just pop them right under a grow light if I need them to be in here in a more consistent sort of temperature situation. But the light is just to aid their germination. Pat said, my granddaughter teaches kindergarten, and seeing Benjamin's beans inspired me to suggest that she adapt that idea to her classroom. Is there a fast-growing bean you would recommend? She'll only have about 6 weeks of classroom time this year. Any suggestions for a 6-week from seed to something? Most beans are like a 52 to 55 day. One of my favorites is jade, and I think that might be what we had right there. Was a jade bush bean, but there's a whole bunch of different ones, and all seed packets should write in the days to maturity, and they come up so quickly. So usually the days to maturity is right after they have sprouted and germinated, and it's from that point on, not from the point you put the seed in the tray. It's from the point that it has germinated. It's that many days, but beans come up in like 2 days, so you'd have plenty of time, right? 6 weeks is 42 days. 6 weeks is 42 days.
Yeah, I was doing that math in my head.
I was thinking 52. Is there a 42-day bean? I'm sorry. I totally did my math wrong in my head. I was giving you 10 extra days there. Snap beans will be ready to harvest in about 42 days. I would still give it a shot because it's fun just to see the plant come up and start to bloom, especially if you can put it somewhere warm. If there's somewhere warm in the classroom that they could put it, the seeds will come up that much faster. Let's see, this one, estimated maturity 42 day. Most of them are saying 50 day. Top crop bean. DSI 1556 bean is the one that says it's 42 day. I don't know, if you poke around on the internet, you might be able to find some varieties that are a little bit quicker. Kayla said, I like to grow some flowers just based on their smell. Just planted some sweet peas like you did. What is your favorite smelling flower? I think my favorite may be a gardenia. I haven't noticed that you've grown any before. Do they do well in your area? They do not do well in our area, and they are spider mite magnet because we will occasionally get some in as like houseplant, like specialty houseplant, and I don't even go there with them. They're just such a pain. They're kind of like keeping ivy as a houseplant. Ivy can be a pain, and they're a spider mite attractant as well. But they are pretty, and they do smell so good. I love the smell of jasmine. I like all the roses. Pretty much there's not a rose scent that I don't like out there. The chocolate flower is awesome. They're like little, I grow those in the cut flower garden, little yellow flowers that truly smell like chocolate. Sweet peas, the old times variety, is a great one. I love citrus blooms. The citrus in our greenhouse are blooming right now, and they smell so good.
Boxwood.
That's Aaron's favorite, not mine. English boxwood.
Like, is pear when it's in bloom? Or?
Oh, yeah, pear and silver lace vine.
Ugh.
Gotta smell like.
Oh, yeah, silver lace vine was bad.
Yeah, not good.
I mean, thankfully, it's a short period of time. It's not, it's like, what, like a week or two?
Yeah.
At most?
Honeysuckle.
Yeah.
Russian olives when they're in bloom. The trees are so good. And lindens. When lindens bloom.
Oh yeah, lindens last for a long time.
Fragrant. Oh, our whole property smells like a dryer sheet.
Yeah.
When our neighbor's line of lindens are in bloom, and I love it. It's so wonderful. I'm just riding around on the gator.
We planted 4 lindens Or just 3?
3, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe 4. No. Was it 4? Could be 4. 1, 2.
I think it was just 3. Yeah. And they're still just like, me.
Yeah. The trunks are expanding and getting bigger, and the canopy is staying exactly the same. It's so weird.
Your dad was saying that they shoot up for them. Like lindens just like skyrocket, but not for us.
Not for us. They're just getting thick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super weird. Peggy said, I've been waiting for the straining of the rosemary. I did some in vodka for my hair. How many drops do I put in a typical bottle of shampoo? Oh, I would probably do a little bit of research on that. I'm not sure. I would have to look it up myself. So I would probably start Googling to find that out. I'm just taking mine under the tongue. Bobby said, I love your show. You are amazing with your adorable kids. Thank you. Question, I seeded my sweet pea in a short tray of pots. They are luggy. Can I pinch the tops off to help make more stems? Yes, absolutely. Just pinch right above a nice set of leaves and they will be a little bit more bushy. Footfish said, did Aaron rub his eyes with the cayenne on his fingers? Remember the apple cider vinegar had the cayenne and I couldn't even taste it. I thought it was going to be something that I'd be able to hone in on because I'm usually pretty decent with picking flavors out, but it's so overwhelmingly rosemary that I couldn't detect any cayenne, and Aaron got it all over his hands. How come you got it on your hands, Aaron?
Oh, jeez. I wasn't given proper instruction.
No, are you sure? I think we can watch the video back, and I beg to differ on that.
Oh, I didn't, I did not like the smell on my hands the rest of the day.
Well, you could have washed them.
Yeah, it's just too much work.
Jeez, oh my goodness. All right, next video was Streptocarpus repotting and care tips, plus planting a lilac and peonies. So the Streptocarpus or Cape Primrose, I picked up 3 when we were at Edwards and Boise, and they're really, really pretty. Got them all potted up. I put them in the Hartley in the middle of the table, and I watched them. I think I mentioned I watched them for light. They didn't want to be in direct sun, and it ended up being a situation where I needed to move them out because the table at the late part of the day gets too much sun, I think. And everything dries out in that Hartley like that. I could water every single day in there, and the plants would just stay dry. It's so
really
weird.
Interesting how the lack of humidity in there.
Yeah, it's actually a little hard to keep plants happy.
Do you think that's because of the mini split?
Could be.
Going at night to keep things
warm enough.
Warmer?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a point in the year where I can relax on watering in there.
Yeah.
Like I'm constantly watering.
Well, it probably makes sense because in the winter we have the heat going, and
summer we don't run the AC though. Like
no, we don't.
There's
we
months at a
have
time.
it open.
We do have it open.
So there's lots of airflow, and we have an arid climate. So
yeah, and I'm thankful it doesn't get all humid in there because I don't really want condensation on the glass and all of that. This plastic greenhouse, way more humid in there for sure. And then we went out and planted a Donald Wyman lilac and 2 were they coral charm peonies? I think they were coral charm.
What's your favorite lilac?
Oh.
Do you have one?
No. There's a few that I mean, I like all lilacs, so it's hard to pick a favorite, but I do like the Centara double blue.
Yeah.
Which I have replanted. The first one got taken by a gopher, ate the root system right out from underneath it. I looked out there one day and I was like kind of tipped. What is going on? No roots. They had just been, eaten off to the nub. I like the President Lincoln, even the Sensation. It's the purple with the white margin. That one you can find everywhere. I think it's really pretty. I don't know. I like the white. We've got it's an angel white out there, and it's budded up heavily. I'm excited about that one. Heather Rudd said, "Can't wait to start planting here in Michigan. Was told that we need to wait until the last frost here. Is that true for Oregon too?" I mean, if you don't want to have any risk whatsoever, then yes. And it depends on the crop too. Or, if you're direct seeding stuff or if you're growing vegetables or flowers or, versus like potted perennials and shrubs and things. We've been planting since, I planted some stuff in January, maybe. We had some nice weather in January.
Yeah.
Or it could have been February. I don't know. I feel like things are better off in the ground than they are sitting in nursery containers. They're easier to keep moist and they're easier to, they're insulated more.
It depends on what you're talking about. If you're planting an evergreen that's been sitting out or maybe was wrapped or something, but it's generally been outside, that's going to be already acclimated. But if you're planting something that is greenhouse grown, that's used to a warm environment, and you just throw it outside while it's still cold, you're going to have some trouble with that.
Yeah, you've got to have things that are properly hardened off.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I've got some stuff in the greenhouse even. Like I had some hellebores that I had picked up in January, and they were in the warmth for a long time. And we did plant them out and they're doing great, but I let them sit outside for a couple days. Like I was moving them in and out, and then I covered them with frost cloth the first night. I left them out the whole night. Even though they're hardy, tough plants, I did do a couple day period where I acclimated them out so that they weren't just like, fend for yourselves,
right.
It's still getting really cold out. So yeah, there is that to consider for sure. But like if we went down to my parents' garden center today and picked up anything that's sitting outside, you could plant it.
Yeah.
But like if we went into the garden center or store portion and picked up a plant that's been sitting in the warmth, we wouldn't plant that out.
It's not really like just cut and dry. You
True.
have to wait until your last frost.
Yeah.
I mean, to be safe for everything, you would wait. But
there's some flowers like you could seed really early, like larkspur and phlox and things like that. They're cool season flowers. And then there are some like zinnias and dahlias that we don't put out until the frost is past for sure. Seeded in Texas said, so indoor plants you don't need to put a starter fertilizer. Why is that? In the container, sometimes I do. Citrus, I'll usually mix in a little bit of citrus tone. But no, in general, I mean, I keep them on a pretty routine fertilizing schedule. I did do with the white geraniums that I started in November, and I potted them up probably in January. I did mix some flower tone in with the soil just to see what would happen, and then I've been skipping those with my liquid fertilizer. They're blooming and doing really well. So I think there's just it's easier for me to do all one way, or for ease of remembering, because I don't want to think like, did I put fertilizer in the soil and when did I do that? It's easier just to do everything the same. Oh, me mom said, your memory for the names of what is planted is amazing. Some days. Is Streptocarpus the common name? Nope, Cape primroses. Have never heard of this plant, but it's beautiful. They are beautiful, and they're native to like South Africa, I think. And I, usually have a pretty easy time potting them up. One of those pots had a stress crack that I didn't realize, and then I need to repot it because it's like opening more and more and more.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Those pots. My goodness, my parents' garden center got in a bunch of these pots. It was just from one shipment, and they ended up, the company sent a bunch more, but they were like, so many of them were damaged in shipping, and they had like maybe a little, like it looked like a surface crack, but a few of mine have cracked open. Bummer. Connie said, is the lilac a rebloomer? The Donald Wyman is not. That one is just a spring bloomer. Amy Deed said, question, do peonies need to be planted high? I need to move one because of not enough sun. Should I wait until fall if it's already growing? You still could move it if you're okay with possibly forfeiting bloom. Usually with spring blooming stuff, it's best to move them in the fall. But in a case where it's not getting enough sun anyway, and that will probably inhibit its ability to bloom, you might be better off just getting it moved now, even though it's starting to grow. User said, what is your and Aaron's opinion on chainsaw electronic loppers?
I don't really know what they're asking, because a chainsaw has a chain that spins, and that's for cutting large branches, and they make electric ones, like battery ones. Those are awesome.
They have a long one, like a long pole chainsaw.
Yeah, pole saw.
Yeah, that's
which is
nice.
okay. It's hard to
wield.
Yeah, it's hard to wield.
The heavy on the end.
Yeah, because of that. And then there's battery operated loppers, which we have, the DeWalt one. That's awesome.
They are awesome. They do scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm really militant about, like, the battery does not go in these loppers until you are physically, like, ready, standing there ready to use them. Because if the kids are anywhere near, they don't usually mess around with stuff, but they're kids, and you never know.
However, they wouldn't be dexterous enough, because you have to like put the thing in a certain position with your thumb and then pull the trigger with your index finger. They would never figure that out. I agree with you. I'm totally on board. Like, the battery needs to be out, but also as like a secondary measure, it does have a safety.
It does, but kids are pretty smart. Benjamin could figure that out in a second. It's kind of like putting pill bottles in their reach, thinking, well, they have a child safety cap.
Yeah.
They could figure that out so fast.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't feel good about keeping the battery.
Yeah.
Even when I have my reciprocating saw out and things like that, I keep the battery disconnected because they're just, I don't think they'd be able to physically, like, those batteries are so heavy. But again, you never know. But it's like more safe to me. Keep them separate in the gator, away from each other. Jen Gross-Dalias in Washington said, can you tell us which model of DeWalt drill you use for the augers? I'm assuming you have a lighter duty and a heavy duty one. I do. For the 2 and the 3-inch augers, I use the 20 volt drill, just regular with a handle on it, just to help anchor.
Which is a heavy duty 20 volt drill.
Yeah.
They sell a lot of different 20 volt drills. It's like the most powerful one that they have. I don't even know what the differences are. It's like bigger than the other ones. The battery is larger. They're both 20 volt. I don't really understand. I don't know if it's the amperage that's different, because it's 20 volt, but like the battery will say, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't really know about electric motors either. I'm not like that inclined.
And then for the larger, so I'll use a 7 and a 9-inch auger as well from time to time. And we use a cement mixture drill.
Which is a 60 volt.
Yeah.
And we have both of them on the store.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You can go to gardenanswer.com and at least just see which models we have.
Yeah, even if you don't buy it from us, you could go to Home Depot and at least, well, if they happen to have those models.
Okay, next video was planting Amsonia. I got my hands on 3 Stormcloud Amsonia, and they were in full bloom. And those were in a kind of a cold frame sort of situation when we bought them. So they were being grown cold, but they were still protected. So it did the same thing, kind of harden those off. And then I was able to plant those at the end of the west side, right among like the sea of daffodils, which they will never again be in bloom at the same time. So I really enjoyed seeing the pale blue blooms of the Amsonia contrasted by the really fun colors of daffodils. They're like bright yellow and bright
When
white.
does Amsonia bloom?
It's a little bit later in the season. Like our Amsonia that we have out, I mean, the shoots are like this tall.
Okay.
And this plant is already this big with blooms on the top, you know?
So like May maybe, or late April?
Probably. Yeah, I would say May.
Okay.
It was kind of like the one year I had some Avaron tulips in bloom, double pink, beautiful, and then we got in a shipment of perennials, which they're always ahead,
right.
The perennials that we get, and I got some dark purple Veronica, and I put the Veronica up next to the pink tulips and just wished that they would be in bloom at the same time every year. But I enjoyed the view for those short couple
Have you ever
weeks.
noticed those like AutoCAD programs where they'll design someone's landscape and it's like everything is in bloom all at the same time?
Yeah, does not exist.
Yeah, you've got like your hydrangeas and your hibiscus and then your tulips and your like spring blooming trees all at the same time.
Yeah. And then I did plant hydrangeas, which were the Invincible Sublimes, which were on the hunt for 5 or 6 more so I can deck out that space.
I think your mom was maybe saying that she could get more.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I've asked several different people if we can get them.
Hopefully we can get them at some point. We can just kind of earmark that spot for some more. And then we planted an Everton broom ginkgo and some Baptisia. I can't remember the variety, pink truffles, I think. And then you aerated the lawn. That was a busy day.
Yeah.
Lots done. Bonnie said, why does Aaron aerate in the spring instead of the fall?
I don't know. I know that some people do it both in the spring and the fall. Yeah, it'd be fine in the fall. I think the idea with the spring is that you're getting a lot of spring rain. And I've always been really happy whenever I aerate in the spring, like how quickly the plugs disintegrate. It's usually no more than like 2 weeks that you'll see them on the ground and then they just, fade into the grass. Mm-hmm. And we get so much spring moisture and like we're fertilizing at that time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It just feels like that's the time that you want to open up the ground to let all the moisture come in and the nutrients.
Melissa said, love your channel and I'm learning so much. Awesome. You mentioned how hydrangeas do best in full sun. Is there any variety that do well in pretty much full shade? From experience, no. And I think any other thing you read about hydrangeas, it's like, 6 hours minimum of sun. However, my parents do have a row of Annabelle, just the older type Annabelle hydrangeas underneath a hedge of spring snow crab apples right next to the pool area. And those are pretty much in full shade, like the tiniest bit possibly of filtered sun. Mm-hmm. But those bloom and do really well. So, I mean, if you can find one for a good deal and you want to pop it in that area just to see how it does and if it performs for you, awesome. And there's always those little things that sometimes it works. But yeah, most of the time they need more sun. Horse Casper said, do ginkgo trees have genders? Does one have more of a smell problem than the other? So yeah, there are male and female ginkgos. And is it the females that smell Yeah, the female trees are extraordinarily smelly. The ginkgo seed pods release some type of acid when they begin to rot or are crushed. The everted broom that we planted is a dwarf male ginkgo. No smell involved in that one. Housewarman said, can you share some perennials that like wet soil? Asters do really well in wet soil. Hibiscus,
Bamboo.
like your big dinner plate hibiscus, love the wet soil.
Oh, wait, what was the question again?
Perennials that like wet soil.
Oh, never mind.
What?
No, I was just throwing out some stuff. They're not perennials.
Oh, well, trees?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? Maybe somebody else needs to know what trees like wet soil, Aaron. Birch.
Bald cypress.
Bulb cypress. There you go.
Willows. Birch. I'm just like throwing out trees.
Yeah.
That...
A stilby would be really good in a shadier, wet area. Joe pie weed. Excellent in wet areas. And there's like baby Joe, I think baby Joe pie weed, which stays a lot shorter than your traditional Joe pie, which will get like this tall. You could do iris, like a Siberian iris.
Aren't there a lot of grasses that can keep their feet? Did you say that?
No, but yeah, you're right. Bee balm could do more wet soil. Boy, I would have to do a little, like, whenever I'm asked a question like that, I think, to come up with a list right off the top of my head. Ooh. So, bleeding hearts, carex, which is a grass, like a grass, a sedge, hostas, actually. I always used to think of them as a dry shade plant. That's what I grew up thinking. But like the great big ones, the Empress Wu, will never get to its potential size unless it's given quite a lot of water. Like you have to keep it going. Because you think of those huge leaves that these hostas get, and their root system has to support all of those huge leaves, so it needs quite a lot of water. But you can Google like wet tolerant or wet feet, which perennials like to have wet feet, and you can probably find a nice list of those. Milkweed, good one.
We just like go for the next hour, just start throwing out names.
Yeah, just one at a time, like every couple minutes.
Yeah.
Barbara said, I love everything you planted today. I have a question about Baptisia. I never cut mine back last year, and it's pretty spindly and dead looking. Should I cut it back now? Yes. Will it push fresh growth this year? It should. In fact, most of ours are showing their little spears. They look like little asparagus spears. It depends on your climate. I know some areas are still getting snow. In that case, you probably won't see any growth yet. But yeah, they will come back fresh from the roots every year. And the fact that you left yours up over the winter is totally fine. It's not going to inhibit the plant's ability to grow or hurt it in any way. Just cut it off and let it flush back. Patricia said, I know you are spraying and fertilizing now. My question is about spraying the boxwood with copper. I had heard that it was common in the UK to spray the boxwood in the spring to keep them healthy from disease. Have you ever heard of this? I know that there's lots of different sprays people use for different reasons. Like is it for boxwood blight, which thankfully we don't deal with in our area, or there's like a box moth, right, or something like that. We also don't deal with that in our area. The biggest struggle for us is keeping the tips from burning. Like tip burn and winter burn is the biggest thing for us. But yeah, I'm not really up on all the sprays for boxwoods because I just don't have to use them. A lot of what we do and talk about is stuff that we just have experience with. Mostly. Yeah. Next video was Aaron's new toy. That was another big thing this last week, and working on big changes to the dirt lands. So we featured your new tractor.
It is so awesome.
It is awesome. In fact, Paul was using it yesterday to haul huge totes full of mulch over to the kids' play area.
Rubber mulch.
Yeah, and the other tractor wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the other tractor, those tractors are just not... Like lifting capacity is not a strong point of those tractors. They do other things really well. Yeah. They definitely have their place.
Like the land plane on the tractor was really nice.
Yeah. So we need more lifting capacity, and that was our problem. And if you stick with like the John Deere tractor, you have to go up to like the first like agriculture tractor, like farm tractor, and it's just huge. Yeah. So I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. But also have a machine that we could potentially drive over grass, to dig holes.
It's basically, the front of it is a skid steer. So you can, any implement or attachment that you would put on a skid steer, like the auger attachments,
the pinchers,
blades, snow blowers. Yeah. The landscape pinchers.
How to go with the land plane?
Well, I think that was, maybe I didn't do enough research because I was kind of just adding attachments, and I was like, oh, I have a land plane now. I definitely need one for this. Yeah. it's not the same. The Bobcat land plane. Like I started looking at videos online because I started to use it and I just like ruined part of the driveway.
So you had to fix it with the old tractor?
But I started looking at videos and like I couldn't find anyone using the Bobcat land plane on gravel. They were only using it on dirt. And I think that's what the Bobcat land plane is for, is like leveling out a dirt area, but not like maintaining your gravel.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm still going to need a machine to pull the land plane. However, you can get land planes that have just a ball hitch. You can hook them up to a truck. We could hook one up to the gators and pull it.
Powerful enough?
Maybe not.
Probably not. It's like a glorified golf. Well, I think our golf cart has more power than the
gators.
The gators.
Yeah. The gators seem like stout though.
They are. I don't know what we would do.
Yeah.
Without the gators. I mean, there's always, all of us have one in use all the time.
My only two problems with the gators is no suspension. So it's a little bit of a bumpy ride, and power steering. There's no power steering.
I think Paul's is pretty loose. There's one.
Oh, really? One of them is more loose than others?
Yeah. And I'm like, one of these nights, I'm going to switch all his stuff to the other one that doesn't turn as great. So I can use that one. Yeah, there's one of them that is much easier to turn. I'm like, is there something that we could do on all of them?
Yeah. Also, I just want to throw this out there. Our local dealer doesn't sell the John Deere wheel loader. John Deere does have one. So it's like 45 minutes away is the dealer that sells the John Deere wheel loaders. I actually contacted them about looking into getting a John Deere wheel loader just like the Bobcat. And they blew me off like hard. I called them. Nobody called me back. After like a week, I called again. Finally, somebody called me back. I asked for pricing. They sent me pricing on the wrong thing. And then I emailed back and I was like, hey, this is wrong. Can you get me pricing on the right thing? Nothing. And I was just like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
I can't deal with people who are like not interested. I'm like trying to come to you with money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is the exchange that we have here. Like you have the thing I need and I have the money. Let's make a deal.
Yeah.
And
they must not work on commission.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
But the Bobcat people were great. So like no complaints. And ultimately, I mean, like I like John Deere. I've got no like I can get other stuff. It's not like I have to have John Deere stuff.
Right.
You know, it's just the reason that we've been getting so much is that we have a dealer like down the road and we live in a really small town. So it's kind of like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know,
it's nice to have somebody that you can call who's really local.
Yeah. So that's been my biggest impetus for getting John Deere stuff. But ultimately, like if you're going to blow me off, I'll go down the street, down the freeway. Yeah, down the freeway, 30 miles if I have to.
So after you lifted up the raised bed, which was like nothing for the Bobcat to do.
And then dragged the barb.
I know. I completely forgot.
Rebar.
I forgot that the rebar was there. I knew it was there, but I forgot to say anything. And then when you were lifting it up, you were focused. And I was like, get on the side.
I totally couldn't see that rebar.
Stop. But it's not a big deal. We were able to, you had it raised up and we were able to pull the rebar out of the corners and it was not a big deal at all. In fact, Paul took those because he does scrap metal stuff. Yeah. So he took them and it was all fine. But anyway, after we were done moving that, we started marking off the lane in the dirt lands to go around. And I shared all of our potential ideas for that space and how we want to lay it out to make it a horse pasture with an eventual barn in it and how the paddocks are going to work and what our kind of vision was. And those are really hard. I feel like I have such a hard time relaying the information. I mean, having a sketch is always helpful to me. We had an overhead sketch of this space, but when we're measuring and discussing and back and forth and little flags in the ground, that's so hard to capture because you can't really see it. It's hard to see if you're even standing there, you know? But we did figure out we do want 15-foot lanes. And then we had Paul and Bethany out there, which they have way more experience pulling trailers. Bethany has horses. So we were kind of getting an idea. We drove the truck on it to see what was comfortable curve-wise.
We need a couple things. We need Chad to bring in a little bit more dirt so that we can actually complete the arc.
Yeah.
And then we also figured out that it's not going to be symmetrical.
Right, which is not a big deal.
It's totally not.
In the end, I don't think you're going to actually be able to see much of the lane because we do plan on planting up both sides of it fairly heavily with trees, and we are going to put trees in the paddocks as well. I think that I forgot to mention that, but we'll create some kind of barrier around it so that the trees are okay, but I want there to be some nice shade in every single paddock for the horses. So, like, yeah, I want it to be set up right and have it be comfortable for us and comfortable for the animals.
Sure.
That we have in there eventually. But we did get a bunch of wood chips spread. The bucket on that Bobcat is way bigger than the bucket on the John Deere, so it was going quite a lot faster.
Yeah.
And it feels nice, so you kind of get a feel for that space.
Right.
Anyway, Wendy said, I can't believe how much rain you are getting. I remember in your earlier videos how you were so dry. Do you think they will change your area from being high desert? Probably not. I mean, it's our summers that are pretty dry. We typically have nice rainy springs and usually pretty wet fall.
Yeah.
And then we usually get some snow in the wintertime. It's just the summer. Those summer months can get pretty dry and hot. Flowers Folly said, I told my husband on Sunday when I saw Aaron's hat that he had swapped teams. He was wearing the Bobcat hat in the last recap. I can't believe I was right. What did Benjamin think?
They loved it. I gave them a ride.
The cab's bigger, so
the
that
cab is
both
a little
kids
bigger.
can ride in it. Yeah.
And there's like a little cubby that is not a seat, but it's a Samantha seat. Like she can totally sit on it.
She asks to go ride in the tractor quite a lot.
She likes it.
Yeah. User said, so you're getting rid of all the John Deere machinery and getting Bobcat machinery instead, or just the tractor? Just the tractor.
I'm not that brand loyal to where I would have to like swap out everything.
I mean, we just have what's functional, what works the best.
The most important thing to me, it doesn't really matter what the brand is. I just want, like, if something is not working, I just want a contact where I can like text somebody or just make it easy where I can, like, someone can come fix it, or because I'm just not that handy. It's my biggest thing.
Sure. Ola said, can you please tell me the type of gravel you used on the drive, specifically the type seen in the video at marker 313? We are needing to re-gravel our drive. Does this type of rock leave a white residue on the bottom of your shoes that gets tracked indoors? No. The gravel's really clean. Well, they bring a water truck through. After they bring gravel in, they bring a water truck through and just like wash it so that it doesn't have that powdery, because all gravel has that powder on it when you first install it, because it's just sitting there in a big dirty pile, you know. So they do wash it down. It is a 3/4 inch chip, and the color, the original color in the driveway was the color blue, which is more of like a cool gray tone. So we try to match it every time. We can't find that exact gravel anymore, but Chad's got a line on some that's just a nice gray. It just can't be white or orange tone, because our summers are so hot and kind of dry that if you have things that are orange, it just kind of lends to the extra dry sort of feel. So if we can bring the temperature down visually with cool tones, it's helpful actually. Donna said, aren't you afraid the black fence behind the pear tree might cause it to be damaged by the heat from the sun? Nope, I am not worried about that one bit. It's just going to get morning sun, which it can still be intense, but nope, pears are tough. Terry said, I need big help. I ordered clematis seeds only to read it can take 1 to 3 years to germinate. What? Can you help me? Is that true? Hold on. One of you guys sent me clematis seeds once. I still have them. Haven't started them yet. Boy, I would have to do a bunch of reading because like this one, this is a specific type of clematis tangutica. This clematis plant will flower within 3 to 4 months of planting the flower seeds. In the second year, it will produce significantly more blooms. There is no way that a seed would take 1 to 3 years to bloom. That seems excessive. Okay, this site has a bunch of different clematis seeds. I have no idea. I don't know this site at all, but Plant World Seeds. It says germination may be very slow, perhaps 2 to 3 months. That seems more reasonable, and may sometimes wait for the following spring before emerging if you do that in the fall. Oh my goodness. Well, if you start them, if you decide to go for it, good luck. B. Pat said, will you be using cardboard to do the beds near the fence?
Yeah. We do have a ton of cardboard. We've been keeping it in the red barn. So I don't know how far it's going to, I mean, it's a massive area.
It is massive.
So definitely we'll use cardboard right around the trees, like the blue evergreen, the spruce that Nathan brought, and then around some of the other stuff where you can't like till, and we definitely don't want to spray the grass out. So we'll try to use the cardboard we have. Luckily with the warehouse, we have a lot more cardboard.
Yeah, coming through.
So that's good.
The play set came, like all the different parts came in cardboard. They brought it all and unpacked it, and they're working on assembling it, but that was a lot of cardboard.
Yeah.
Okay, the next video was 2 garden experiments, grape trees and faux boxwoods. It's kind of a funny couple of projects. So I saw in an English garden magazine last November, there was a picture of grapes that had been trained into little standard, like little grape trees in containers. And I just thought it looked like such a fun and like contained experiment. You know what I mean? I mean, they're in containers, but it's not like something where I have to need to dedicate a big bunch of space out in the garden. I don't know, container projects always seem much more attainable.
Sure.
If that makes sense. And I just thought they were so pretty, but I had to wait till the garden center had grapevines in stock. So we attacked that project, and they look super funny because it's a straight stick. I mean, I cut all of the side branching off because I want to have a longer trunk. And the longer you wait on those side branches, the more damage you can do to the plant from pruning them off. So they are definitely just like sitting there looking like dead sticks in pots right now. And then I picked up a couple of fake boxwood spirals. When I was down at Marshall's, I actually texted Aaron a picture. I'm like, should I do this?
Can I do this?
Like, is this... Like, I just need somebody else to say go for it. And you were like, yeah, you should just try it. Who cares, you know? So that, you know, the house being just freshly painted, I do not want to do anything to the paint to ruin it. And we have such a hard time with our front porch. It's an entryway that nobody uses. Like, the door's locked 100% of the time. Even for us, we don't use it. So you're only seeing plants that are up there from a distance, but I want it to look like there's some life up there. There's something green. And these were some of the best looking topiaries I had probably ever seen in terms of fake plants. And I've tried succulent containers, I've tried aquapots, like self-watering containers, but they still have a water overflow. They still will gather water around the bottom, you know, if you accidentally do too much water. Then I tried pots with just big saucers. The saucers were being overflowed. Like, there was still water on the wood, and I could not get away from it. And since I never go up there, I thought, well, if we could pop some fake plants up here, no one will ever know, because no one will ever be close enough to know.
Right.
And they do look pretty good, I think. And they're saving our wood. Anyway, so those were the two experiments. And you guys were so encouraging about the fake plants. I think that some of you maybe even felt like the freedom, like it was okay to do.
Yeah.
It is weird as a gardener, though, and especially as a gardening channel, to be like, hey, look at me pot some fake plants.
Right.
You know, it seems like the opposite of what I should be doing. But you know what? Time and place, and no judgment if you use fake plants, because I do too now. Rochelle said, could you video a list of plants you won't grow again and why? Would be very helpful. What plants would I not grow again? I'm usually willing to try, like more than several times.
Yeah. For you, I think we've discussed this before, but for you, it's mostly like color.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's not necessarily like that type of plant is bad or something.
Well, there's a lot of tomato varieties I'd never grow again. I mean, that sort of thing you can figure out pretty quickly. That one year, I planted like 30 different varieties of tomatoes.
Did you make a list?
Well, it's probably in a video. I think I have a video of all the plants I tried. I got a bunch of random seeds, like really neat looking varieties. And, you know, if you want to grow them for aesthetics to use in flower arrangements, there is that. But flavor-wise, most of them didn't even come close to some of the old standby, you know, super fantastics and brandywines and that sort of flavor, you know. Pineapple tomato is one of my favorites. An heirloom, kind of a yellow and orange flesh, super meaty and so good. Celebrities, like all of those that you can find really easy, those are good tasting tomatoes.
With the question, you just name off a bunch of stuff you love.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember all the names. There was like a chocolate strawberry, there was like a blue bumblebee, those types of things, made for very pretty flower arrangements. But plant-wise, I don't know that there's anything that I mean, there's some varieties that I've tried, like the Royal Raspberry Agastaki. I've tried that like 4 times, 2 different locations. They've died every single time.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't want to have that plant. It's just because it's not thriving for me.
Right.
And that's usually the case. Tamara said, so tempted to try the grape project in Zone 7A. Anyone have any idea how would these be handled in winter? Would they stay out in pots or would they need a greenhouse? They would not need a greenhouse. They need a dormancy period. So what I would do with these is just, we usually cluster anything that I want to have protected, like any leftover plants that we didn't have a chance to plant. We put them all in a big bunch together. You can put extra soil bags or bags of mulch around the pot for extra insulation, but they do want to be out in the cold. You do need to make sure to keep them watered, and that's a super important step. We need to keep them on a schedule. This next winter, we are going to be diligent. I am going to be diligent about, like, these are the dates we're watering. This is how much water we're giving. Because if they don't get enough water, even like evergreens in pots, if they don't have enough, even if it's been snowing or raining, a lot of that's deflected by foliage. It's not actually getting to the root ball. And then you'll get winter damage, like wind damage on the windy side of the plant because it doesn't have enough moisture to hold up to that wind. So Yeah, got to make sure to keep them watered in the winter. Anne said, could you have rooted the branches you cut off the grapes? If so, how would you have gone about it? I would have just put them in some damp soil in a warm spot. And I don't know, I've never really rooted a grape. I've rooted figs. Give it a shot, I suppose. S said, those faux box trees look amazing and so much better than I expected. Me too. Would you ever install an artificial lawn? We looked into it for the kids' play area. Do you want to know how much money it would cost to get the turf?
Well, I mean, with that one company.
I guess. But I mean, you can get some nice looking turf these days. Like, it's pretty convincing. And we thought, well, that would be super nice for the kids. They put like a cushy pad under it. So it'd be a nice soft landing. It would look nicer than, you know, some other options. And the cats would leave it alone.
Do you remember what the bid was?
Like $27,000.
Yeah.
$7,000 for like the kids' play area.
Right.
So we went with mulch. Well, it's kind of nice because the church we go to, they just redid their play area and got a new play set, and then they put in rubber mulch. And I've never I've always kind of questioned the rubber mulch thing, but it's really quite nice because it's soft. It's soft for the kids. They do a nice big layer. It looks nice, and it hasn't faded that I've noticed, and it doesn't give you slivers. The cats don't use it. I mean, what are the other options?
Real mulch.
Well,
like
slivers.
real wood chips. Yeah.
You know, Samantha would be crying all the time. She's prone to slivers.
They call it like engineered wood mulch or something like that, where it's not supposed to have slivers. The other options would be pea gravel, but that's
hard. And
and it gets places. I don't know. It's like easier to get spread around. I don't like that. So yeah, it seemed like that was the most economical thing to do,
and nice feeling for the kids jumping out of swings and, you know, running around. Samantha will be barefoot.
They have those rubber surfaces that have a pad underneath them.
Those
are really nice, and they're the water can get through.
Those are also very expensive.
They're also very expensive. So
Linda said, I take it you will get grapes as they grow in the pots. Will you eventually have to transplant them out in the yard? I get so many great ideas from watching your videos. I mean, we might be able to root prune these and keep them in containers. You know, grapes will get quite large. Most of you know that, and that's why I'm thinking, and they grow fast. So we'll see how it goes, but I would love to be able to, maybe we'll have to pot them up into a slightly larger pot, in which case I'll be looking into some that look like terracotta or look like concrete, but they aren't, so it's not so heavy. But I think if we root prune and keep them fertilized, we could probably keep them in those containers for a while. Holly said, unique stone question. I know there will never be a wide range, but could you give me some idea of a range unique stone pots like this would sell for? I'm trying to decide if finding a dealer and driving hours is even in my price range. For the lemon pots that size, I would think it'd be around $100.
Oh, really?
For a concrete pot like that.
Is that all?
I think so.
Sounds low.
$99.99. I can picture that.
Sure.
But again, like there's 3 different sizes in that range. I don't know. I would have to look at it. It might be like $129.99, $100 to $150 maybe for a pot that size. But you know, they last forever. So if you can, you know, budget to add, you know, one a year or, you know, one every other year, you start amassing this really beautiful collection that will last for a long, long, long time, and they'll be beautiful while they're at it. User said, have you considered a decorative rain chain on the gutter to prevent the excess splash? That was a very, very common suggestion, and it would not help at all in this case. So the way that our roof works is that we have this like overhang on our new side of the house, and then we have the roof from our old side of the house like this. So the rain, and there's no gutter I guess we could have more gutter added onto, it'd have to be added to both sides. But what it does is the rain comes down on this side and it splatters off the whole roof line down underneath because the old side of the house's roof is too high. So it hits the lower side and then splashes into the porch from multiple locations. It's not like it gathers and then would go down a chain. It's like this splattery big mess. Does that make any sense? Does it make sense to you?
I live here and I had a hard time following that, but I think maybe I got it.
Basically, the water doesn't pool. It just splatters everywhere.
Yeah, sure.
Like some might go down the rain chain if it's going hitting it right there, but it's hitting all over the surface of that overhang and just splattering in.
Yeah.
I don't even know that a rain gutter would help, honestly.
Right.
Okay, last video from this week is dividing perennials to get tons of free plants. So we just went out and took care of some things I need to dig up and move around and divide. And I think the most impressive one was the perennial geranium that we dug out back here, kind of near the pond area. It was in a chunk like this big, maybe 2 by 2, and it turned into 35 plants.
Boom.
Yeah. And then we did some ornamental alliums, we did ornamental oregano, and we also did the great big miscanthus grass up front. It was just fun to kind of go through that process with you guys. Disability Media Network said, what made you to decide to create a play area? In another video from the past, someone asked you about it and you commented that the kids have acres of land to play on, which is true. They do have acres of land to play on, and they certainly don't need a play area. But when we were able to buy the property right behind us, which wasn't until January of this year, we kind of started thinking, like, there's kind of a natural spot over here near the basketball court area where we could create like this entertainment zone for families and kids. You know, when we have family over or friends over and it's nice out, we can go out there and the kids can play, the adults can play. And I think we're going to create like a little area that's got a fire bowl, and I think we're going to sink a trampoline somewhere right out there. So there'll be so much to do in that one space, and people can just relax. And yeah, we need to get some trees growing back there.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, almost.
Yeah. Well, and Aaron, you were really the one who did all the research. You just were sending me, do you like this play set? Do you like this play set?
Yeah.
You were just kind of excited and gung-ho about that idea.
Yeah. That's another thing where the bids can get like out of control really fast.
Yeah, what's that one place called? Is it Cedar Works?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really pretty play sets, but it's like putting in a home.
Right.
Like,
you can spend like $75,000.
Yeah.
And I don't think that includes installation. That's just the play set itself. And of course, that's like that's like one of their nicest
beautiful.
ones.
They're like little castle looking things and like bridges.
But there were other companies I looked into. There was one called like Bears Playgrounds maybe, and they did more like pine logs sort of
cabin
looking
style.
Yeah. And that was really neat. I thought that was a really cool design, but it was a little price prohibitive. So this one, kind of the one that we went with, I still think it looks good and it'd be fun with the kids, but it was like less, you know. Yeah,
it wasn't $75,000. Can you imagine? I'm excited though for it to be done, and they were going to finish up today until the rain. Bummer. Bloom said, I'm wondering why you consider it important to saturate the root balls of these divided plants, but you don't water either the plants nor planting hole for most of your plantings. Because when I'm doing that, I'm not upsetting the plant quite as much as I am when I'm cutting it apart into little pieces. That's why. Short answer.
I know some people that plant things, they'll actually take plant like smaller stuff. They'll take like have a bucket nearby of water. Just seems like a lot of work to go through.
Yeah.
But they'll like kind of dunk the whole thing, which does accomplish kind of what you're after.
And my process isn't 100% the same all the time either. Sometimes we'll put water in the hole. Sometimes we won't.
I think when you do something enough times, you kind of get a sense for like if those things are really necessary or not. And if you just do a little bit of planting every year, you might take the extra step to like get a bucket of water and fill it up and make sure it's really wet.
Sure.
It's just kind of like the difference between, I don't know, when you watch like industry people, they manhandle plants.
Yeah,
because they kind of know when you can and when you can't.
I know. It kind of cracks me up whenever we receive comments like, oh, why would you like get rid of that little thing? Yeah. You could have propagated that. I'm like, listen, I could show you video of like people in the industry and what they chuck.
Yeah.
You would be aghast.
Well, it's the same
as crops. They're crops.
Like, you know, when you go to the grocery store and you expect to see non-bruised apples and bananas and things like that. And they chuck anything that's not perfect because no one will buy it. And people complain, but they won't buy the bruised one. They want to buy the perfect one. So it's kind of the same with plants.
Yeah.
They need to be pristine.
Yeah. So said the mighty miscanthus got its turn of dividing finally. Did you go look at the chunk I left?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it looks pretty nice.
Does it?
Yeah, I may not even need to stake it this year.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, I know. Laura was planning to get after it for almost 5 years. I know. It takes me a while sometimes. Question, how well do grasses react to dividing? Do they look skimpy and floppy after dividing, or should we just trust the process? Trust the process. Most of the time, if you're getting after it when they're little enough, they won't be floppy. Like, these shouldn't be floppy. They're pretty stiff, more upright grass. Sorry, like I have an edge.
It's nature's willow.
I know, it's some itch cream.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, just trust the process. And do your dividing early enough. That's what I would do. Brenda said, I was looking for the list of perennials that do not like to be divided, but couldn't find it in the description. Did I hear you wrong? Do you have a list? Yes, I will try to update the description. I saw people, they were like, Laura's really bad about doing that. It's true, I am bad. It's because we're like rocking through projects, and if I don't do it like right when I say it, it's like gone. It's just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lather and Lace said, I have daffodils that did not produce flowers. Do I just pull them out and plant new bulbs in the location next fall? Well, it depends. Are they getting enough sun? That's the main thing. If they are in a shaded area, I know we've got some underneath a maple tree that the first year when you plant the bulbs, they have all the energy they need to bloom the next year. So they look amazing. But they don't get very much light, especially as the tree leaves out. Like right now, they will get plenty of light when the sun's out. But when they're kind of past the point of blooming, but they still need to have their leaves up to gather up sunshine so that they can create energy in their bulbs for the next year. That's when the maple tree is already sort of leafed out and it's blocking a lot of that light. So every year that spot is like less and less flowers because those plants just aren't getting enough sunshine to be productive. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing, you might add some bulb tone. Give them a little boost, and you usually do that right after they're done blooming, right when they're in that kind of gathering energy stage. And that should help as well. Jody said, what do you use around your peonies for support? I use the standard ring supports, but they're so thin and unattractive that I would love to find something sturdy and attractive. Well, I've actually never ringed my peonies. False. I have ringed my peonies, but not with a peony ring. I use the top of an obelisk. Like, the ones that we had in the vegetable garden, the 4 that kind of bent after, a lot of years of using them in there. I just pop the tops off, and they're like this little cage. And I've used that. But I did see somebody like, PSA, put your rings around your peonies before they get any bigger. So it's something I might go out and do.
We need to carry some rings.
Yeah. And you guys, that's it. That was the last question for this week's recap. We had an extra video in there, so this video is probably a little extra longer than normal. Thank you so much for watching all the videos this past week and for all the questions. We really appreciate it. We hope you're having a really great beginning of the month. April. Can't believe it.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.